All
We
right.
are live. We are live. And I don't know if I'm allowed to do this because you're already at my house and at my party, but I'm kicking you out for a second so I can talk about you. And then I'm going to bring you back. So that was Linda. And today we're talking about, as we age, as people age, it's really easy just to put all kinds of rules on yourself about what you can and can't do. But if we put rules on ourselves like that, whether you do it consciously or unconsciously, it can really limit your business growth and just your personal growth over time. So this is Intercultural Talks. It's all things intergenerational and intercultural using the broadest sense of the word. And today my guest is Linda Rosenthal. So last month, Linda turned 42, and on her 42nd birthday, she found herself atop one of the Adirondack Peaks, the 42nd one she had climbed, doing a handstand. So Linda is someone who just is completely just being herself, defying anything, and setting some amazing goals to really jumpstart change in her life. And I'm so excited to have Linda here today. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good,
And thank
good.
you for having me. I'm truly honored.
Oh, it's totally my pleasure. And also I hope so we invite people to watch live. And anyone who is watching live, please number one, say hi, because that's how we know who you are. And say hi. And then also you're able to ask questions while you're here with us. So please do that as well. Linda, I want to give people an idea of what we're talking about with these handstands on the mountain. So
Okay.
So, can you actually tell me, like, what's the full scope of this goal, and
Sure.
what is it that you're doing here?
So first of all, I think it's sort of important to know. I grew up in Vermont, and I spent my summers in the Adirondacks, which is in upstate New York, and so there are these. It's a historical thing. There are 46 Adirondack High Peaks that were originally surveyed to be over 4,000 feet. Since then, there have been, more current geological surveys. Some of them are not actually 4,000, and some that are not part of the original 46 are over 4,000. But the original 46 remain as this goal,
Okay,
to.
I'm going to actually show this
Okay.
because this is like a scratch off thing where you
Yeah,
can
my mom
scratch
got
off
that
the
for
so
me.
you can climb them.
So cute. It's a scratch off. So it's this thing, people really do go to the Adirondacks to, complete these 46 peaks.
That's cool.
And they range from fairly, I'm going to say this in major air quotes, easy to very, very difficult. And when I say easy, like, don't get me wrong, these are all mountains.
Right.
They're not easy. They're,
Well, and knowing you too, your definition of easy might
yeah,
not be someone else's definition of easy either,
exactly.
just to let people know.
They're all a fitness feat for
Yeah,
sure,
okay,
but some of them more so than others. So,
sure.
some of them are like a very, very well trafficked trail.
Right, right. And you can climb them in the snow. What up with that? I like found
Oh
this
yeah,
little, what are
yeah.
you doing handstands in the snow?
It's a thing you can, once you complete the 46, you actually, apply for membership. So you're an official 46er.
Oh,
But you can
okay.
also be a winter 46er, and do all 46 with, like, between the months of, I believe it's, December and March.
No wonder. So I saw, this thing that I just showed, this scratch off thing. They
Yep.
actually showed some that had like snow or they had different weather. So I didn't realize. So that's a thing. People will actually
Yep.
purposely do that with different weather.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
That is great.
people try to, I think most people will try to do, if you're going to try to be a winter 46er, you're going to make a point to do all of those mountains in the winter.
Oh, and to be clear, people are not required to do a handstand at the top. Like not
Oh,
everyone's going up and doing a handstand.
so
That's your twist.
that's something that came about. Funnily, I love being upside down, but
Okay.
funnily enough, the handstands on top of mountains was never. It was not my idea. Good friend of mine who I was hiking with
That's
about
spectacular, by the way. Look at that. That is
what? Oh,
amazing.
isn't that picture
Oh my
just
God. I'm so
gorgeous?
afraid you're going to end up like doing a back bend and just like, would you go off the mountain? How do you not go? He's afraid to go off the mountain.
That's I'm so glad you put that picture up. That's one of my absolute favorites. That's on Haystack Mountain.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. it's Mount Haystack. There is a Haystack Mountain, and that's
Got it.
smaller. That's Mount Haystack.
God, that's so
Which is
amazing.
the third highest peak in New York State.
Okay.
Anyway, so my friend Eric took that picture,
Okay.
and I love that picture because I was actually on an incline. My hands were kind of pointed downwards. So in order to balance, I really
Oh my God, I'm scared just thinking about it. I'm going to throw this picture back up so that everyone knows what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm on an incline.
Oh my God, so that's not like flat. I can see that the rocks are. How were you not terrified that you were just going to go off the edge of the mountain?
You know, the pictures make it look like I'm more at risk of going off the edge of a mountain than I actually am. And I mean, don't get me wrong, if I'm scared, I'm not going to do it. But I love that particular picture because I remember that handstand really clearly. It was a really good one. And I stayed there for a long time and I was completely balanced. Sometimes there are bad handstand days.
Yeah. Well, actually, and just I want to throw this up here. If people want to follow you and see your handstands on Instagram, they can do it. They can do it here. So
absolutely, yes. And you know, I insist on using the hashtag handstands on top of mountains.
Okay,
it's not a popular hashtag. I think I might be the only one that uses it, but I really insist on using it.
Yeah. Well, you have another one.
On top of mountains. Oh, but so I was saying. It was never my idea. I was hiking with a friend of mine about 3 years ago, and he was like, "You should do a handstand up here." I'm like, "All right, I'll try, I guess." Yeah. And then it became a thing.
That's great. Well, actually, I think that, that's the whole idea, just even in families or making a tradition is you just have to do it 3 times and then it's a thing. So, yeah.
Well, I have done it a lot of times.
All right. So speaking of being a thing, I want to show another one that's a thing. So you also do handstands, and then tell me about Teddy Inchworm and all. Oh, and I had to do the snake. So you're doing a handstand. Was that snake near where you're doing the handstand? Like, this sounds so dangerous.
No. First of all, that's a garter snake. It is not dangerous at all.
Wait, I'm glad that I have this picture up because you so cannot see me blushing right now that you just told me that. Because you're like, Deanna, it's a garter snake. Settle down.
Teddy Inchworm is like one of my very favorite things, and I want Teddy to be famous. So follow him on Instagram. He has
let's put up his Instagram then too.
Right now, 6 followers Teddy has. So follow Teddy Inchworm.
There you go.
That's
beautiful photography, though. Did you know photography before? Because it's like really close-ups of nature, and that squirrel that's like he just posed for you. That was great.
So Teddy is a great photographer.
Teddy takes the pictures.
I give Teddy full credit for these pictures.
That's Teddy right there on the left.
But I was posting kind of all of my pictures in one place, and then I kind of thought, I'm really into kind of doing close-up nature pictures. I tend to, as I'm hiking, really look alongside the trail and just notice the beauty in any little thing, really. Yeah. So I wanted 2 different places for, handstands on top of mountains and these big, grand, widespread views on top of the world, and then something a lot smaller and more focused. Yeah. So Teddy Inchworm is in charge of all of my close-up nature photography.
She's got the big picture and that attention to detail.
And it's funny, I have a hard time with the middle. Which is, I sort of have this big overarching grand ideas and goals. And then I have these, very kind of attention to detail, minute close-up views. And that's very indicative of just me as a person. Like, I don't live in the middle as comfortably as I live in the extremes, the way up and the way down, and the middle sometimes gets lost for me. And that's something that you could consider a struggle, or I think I'm finally finding a way to just know that that's really who I am. And so I just live in both of those worlds. And I'm happiest in both of those worlds.
Yeah. Well, what I find interesting, I'm sorry, I totally didn't mean to cut you off. So also, for people who are watching live, please know that you can put things in the comments and ask questions as well. But what I find interesting about what you just said, though, is that none of this actually just happens by accident. Like there's a lot of prep work that goes behind. And so I have known you. So I don't know if you call it full disclosure. Linda and I actually teach group fitness together. So that's how we met when at 40 or thereabouts, like you made a complete career change. So that was just amazing. I have something I want to show, but talk about that for a minute. Like a lot of people, I think what I'm finding, a lot of people, probably like me, true confessions. I feel like when you get older, I know, let me lie on my couch. Linda, as I'm getting older.
Yeah, tell me, tell me.
I find I find that it's harder to make big changes in life. No, I feel like it's really easy to put limits on yourself. And so you and I met at a point where you were like, I'm just going to completely change my life, but you do it so thoroughly. So talk about that for a minute, the decision to change, but then also, you know, when you take something on, I know you said you were competitive. Like when you take something on though, like you're going to be the best at it. Talk about that a little bit.
I can't help it. So, all right. So going back to where you started with the complete change of kind of direction in my life. From where I sit now, you know, hindsight is 2020, and I look back, and I know that I've always been the way I am. Even like, you know, when I was younger, it was like, you know, when you first start dating boys and I get really excited and really into somebody and then bored pretty quickly. And this theme kind of has followed me in work and in relationships. And I started noticing a pattern probably somewhere in my mid-20s that every couple years I needed some form of big change in order to keep me interested and focused and motivated. And so, and then I've had some curveballs thrown at me, you know, in my 30s, and those, I mean, I think the way I am with the big changes every 2 years served me quite well, as, you know, my life sort of started changing without me having anything to do with it. You know, I had some losses and I went through a divorce, and I think that all would have been a lot harder, except that I craved the change anyway. So let me try to refocus. So I was working as a veterinary technician, which I had done for far longer than I had done anything in my life, and loved it. And then I literally, the best way I can describe it is I woke up one morning and I was like, I'm going to be a group fitness instructor. And so I did. Like, I wasn't even a gym member. I didn't have a gym membership at the time. I was like, well, I think the first step is I'll probably like get a gym membership and I'll see what group fitness is all about.
But were you already exercising though? Because you were so strong.
Yeah, and I was
already fitness.
I was a competitive horseback rider for many, many years too. So I was always really interested in movement. I'm always constantly moving. So woke up one morning, I'm going to be a group fitness instructor, and I do have a really competitive nature, and I usually can quickly find out how to become the best at anything, you know, and I'll just kind of find what that path is and just go. And this sort of brings me to an interesting point, and I apologize if I'm now going off topic, but for me, I'm the happiest when I am headed somewhere. And I find that it's really hard to be headed somewhere with a fierce determination if it's something you've done forever, at least for me. If I start to feel trudgy or stagnant, my happiness is like drained. But if I feel, you know, a really clear sense of purpose and direction, that energizes me.
So actually, Linda, this is the topic of what we're of exactly what made me call you and be like, you have to come on. Because here's the thing. you know that you are better when you're directed at something. Nobody said you have to go climb, the 46 peaks. No one said, or you said like you're doing 100 of them. Nobody said you had to do that. That was the whole title that we came up with. It was just how to jumpstart your life by by making these goals. You
Right.
set the goal. So you know that about you, and then you set this goal to achieve. That's amazing, because it's so the opposite of people are like, I'm old, I can't do it, or I need to wait for someone else to tell me something good to do. No, you're like, all right, let me set a goal so I've got something to work toward.
Well, it's so funny. And for me, I think this is going to sound cliche for a second, so bear with me, but the path or the journey is where the happiness is derived from. I think we're so
as opposed to even the full destination. It's the journey.
We're so destination.
Life is talk about cliche. Life is a journey. I mean, it is. Yeah,
and,
life is the process.
And I've sort of started. It's like hiking is life, and I think a lot as I'm hiking, and this is like the perfect analogy for me. I met a woman who also was, working towards climbing all 46 high peaks, and we were chatting at the top of one of the mountains. And, I was like, well, what's your favorite been so far? And she said, oh, I loved Mount Marshall. And I looked at Eric, who was with me, and we laughed because Marshall was one of our least favorites.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And I was like, what did you love about it? And she's like, oh my gosh, the path up there, it was like a magical fairyland. And I was like, oh, what approach did you take? And she had gone via a different approach than we had.
Oh, interesting.
And I'm like, it's so funny because the top is the top. Everyone gets to the same top on a mountain. But it's the way you get there that's going to determine that experience that you have. And so if you're looking for happiness and fulfillment in your life, you can't just be focused on the top of that mountain or whatever that goal is, because once you're there, what are you going to do? It might not be what you thought it was going to be, or it might be everything you thought it was going to be, but you can't.
Now what do you do?
Yeah. You don't live there. So the happiness has to be derived from the path, from the journey to getting there. So it's taken me a long time to learn this about myself, but if I'm headed somewhere, that's where I am happy. But I feel the need to also say that that's not exactly for everybody, but it also is exactly for everybody. My brother is the polar opposite of me. But at the same time, like his direction, because he does have direction, even though he's not go, 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 like I am, and goal after goal after goal, his direction is sort of settling down into where he's at and like marinating in this life he's created around him that he loves. So it's still a direction, even if it's like a burrowing instead of a.
That's like his process or what
torpedo,
But
so you don't mind, enjoy your path and your movement, whatever that is.
So I want to look at this for a minute, this picture right here, because just to give depth and scope to when you talk about like doing something. So this was, actually describe this in this picture. I'll see if you're getting the same point that I got out of this picture, but what's happening in that picture?
So this is Nicole, myself, Paul, and Catherine, and this was one of our Body Attack launches at Centennial Fitness Center. And we had so much fun with this launch. And there was one track in particular, is the agility track, that I taught because I was obsessed with it. And all of the movements in that track reminded me of a particular animal. And so there was squirrel, there was rabbit, there was kangaroo, and there was cat. And so each of our shirts show a different one of those animals. And yeah, that was really just, that was me, Nicole and I were practicing on our own. And I was like, imagine you're a squirrel frantically gathering nuts. Imagine you're a bunny merrily hopping along, and imagine you're a kangaroo. And, imagery really works for me. And communication is really important to me, and not so much as terms of, we think of communication as, listening to one another and communicating well, but I'm talking about it right now more as, how do you get your point across the most effectively? And for me, it's in imagery that can make something come to life more and hopefully be more fun.
So here's what's really interesting about that, though. So for anyone who's watching either now or on the recording, that is Les Mills. So again, you and I met teaching. What happens? That's body attack. I do body pump. You have to learn to do. I'm looking at you, but you know this. So for people who are watching, you're like, yeah, I know. But for people watching, when you do body pump or body attack, you have to learn a choreography. Not only the choreography, you have to learn the cues and everything. Like, to get certified, you have to film yourself basically memorizing and doing the choreography and cues from Les Mills. So the point is, and this goes back to you, Linda, and how you do things so in depth. So you can be a really good Les Mills instructor, literally just repeating everything that you saw on the video. Sure. So what's interesting, though, and it shows in terms of how popular classes are, that you took this like all the way to like coming up with the way to really give people a cue so they would know what to do, but then actually got everyone t-shirts.
I know. We had to be
really thorough.
It's got really into it. But like, again, like, that's so who I am. Like, it's all or nothing. And I don't sit in the middle. And it's so funny, like, going back to our kind of theme for today of, happiness and fulfillment and changing your life at any age. I sometimes, in my worst moments, or maybe they're my best moments, I don't know, think, oh my God, I'm never going to succeed at any one thing. I'm never going to make millions of dollars doing one thing. I'm never this or that. It's like, all I do is, I'm like a jack of all trades. I get good at this, and then I move on, and I get good at that, and then I move on, and I get good at whatever. And there is a voice in the back of my mind that's like, well, that's because you're a failure, and you're not good enough at any one thing to succeed at that one thing.
So how do you fight that? Like, what?
Yeah. So this is something that, just as I get older, I've really learned about myself, that my strength, what I'm best at, is changing direction and moving forward, with a purpose, like whether it's to this and then to that. And, hopefully the dots connect in some meaningful way. But, I'm going back to the path is where the happiness is that's where I'm how I'm happy.
Well,
if I found one thing and I just did it and it got stagnant, I would lose that feeling of excitement and focus, and I would be less happy. So it's sort of just embracing who you are, and fighting that feeling of failure. That's a really good question that you asked.
That's a hard one. And you had said once, this is when we were talking before, like even just thinking about what we would talk about with the show. And you had said, well, there's really no wrong decisions, because any decision you made brings you to where you are now.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for reminding me of that. Cause that's like something that I'm like really trying to live right now. And it's like resonating a lot for me, which is, if you sort of relax and look around, there's only so much we have control over. And, the pandemic right now is an amazing example. There's only so much we have control over. But everything that happens, I believe, is supposed to happen. And so whatever decision I make in any given moment, that was the correct decision because I made it. And, of course, we can look back and go, oh gosh, maybe that was a mistake. Nope, it wasn't. That's what happened. So that's what was supposed to happen. And sometimes I think we can rely on our intuition more than others. Like this summer in particular, I feel like I've just kind of let myself open up just to the world and to what I'm feeling and who I am. And if I get a strong feeling like that's what I want, then that's what I'm supposed to do. So I've made a couple really big decisions this summer, and I did it without overthinking them too much because I was getting a feeling. So I'm going to
So
allow
kind of
the
trusting.
world to lead me where I'm going to go. And it's not going to be a mistake. Even if I need to course correct at some point, it wasn't a mistake. It was supposed to be like that.
Because you look at life as the process. Yeah, you learn something, or that was just part of the process. Well, there's such a focus now on mindfulness, though. Honestly, even with COVID, like anxiety, all that stuff, a lot of people are talking about mindfulness and being grounded. And the key part of mindfulness is, how do you be in the moment? How do you just exist in the moment? So that's a hard thing.
Hiking is life. It's the path, you have to enjoy the path. Like the little stuff that Teddy Inchworm sees along the side of the path, that's gorgeous, even if it's common. But then also the big moments at the top of the mountain where you can see forever and you feel like you're on top of the world, and they're equally important. I would argue that the path and the way there is more important, because you have all this time to grow as a person.
You're talking to the person. My family's in St. Louis, and when we do road trips, at one point, my husband and I couldn't do them together anymore, because my son and I, the longest trip from Chicago to St. Louis was 1 week and 9 states. We always joke, the 9 states between Chicago and St. Louis. Oh yeah, no, we were just visiting grandma.
But it's so true. Like, let's say I'm, hiking with someone that their happiness comes from somewhere else. Like they want to get to the top as fast as possible and see nothing, have tunnel vision all the way up. And what if I want to kind of meander and say, oh, look, there's a pretty stream over there. I want to go put my feet in it. And that's what's going to bring me happiness. If we're forced to stay together for that entire hike, we're not going to be as happy. So everyone's path is different. And you can't force yourself into someone else's mold, and you just have to know what makes you happy and trust your instinct. And there's no right and there's no wrong. Actually, I would argue that there's only right. So there's no right or wrong, because there's only right. You can't mess this up. What is supposed to be. And that's a really comforting thought to me, that whatever you choose to do, that's correct. That's what you're supposed to do. And then
look at this. You were talking about,
oh, look, there's that in the middle of the screen right now, that waterfall that I got in that. I stopped and took my shoes and socks off and got in.
Did you? Yeah. Well, I was just looking on your Instagram, and I'll put your Instagram up in a second, but you were talking about the things that people see, and just all the little, you know what? I'll show Teddy Inchworm. So this is you and all of the big, you said before, like this is all your big picture stuff. And then Teddy Inchworm, here we go. Teddy Inchworm is, look at this.
Beauty in all of the little things. I mean, look at it. It's a really common grasshopper, but look at how beautiful.
And so you must have some kind of lens, though, that has.
I mean, that's just, no, I take these pictures on my iPhone.
You do? Oh my God.
Yeah. And look, that's a red clover. It's nothing, but it's so beautiful.
Actually, I love that idea. How many people walk by? We all do. You walk by clovers in the field and it's a weed. Do you know what I mean? And then to see it. Oh, I like what's this one? The beetles.
Beetle porn.
I think you were interrupting them.
Beetle porn. Don't judge. We all have our things.
Look at this, though. I mean, it's really just
all of
beautiful.
this stuff is just so pretty if you stop and look at it. And and I actually make a point, when I'm posting any of Teddy's pictures on Instagram, you can change your filters, and I will never, because
I feel like that sometimes too. Like on Instagram, you take pictures and they're really gorgeous, and then they want you to do all these filters that just don't look as good.
I'll never filter any of Teddy's pictures, because it's just they're gorgeous as it is. Kind of like, we're gorgeous as we are, and it doesn't matter how old you are or how much you feel like you should be doing this or that or the other thing. It doesn't matter.
I like that. We always joke with when you and I met. I'll tell the story because you and I have told
Oh
this,
yeah, I
but I
wondered if you
still
were going to tell this story.
what I love is that we actually both love this story. So
Mhm.
I guess I don't know.
This story is like why we are friends.
Is it?
Like that, I think it was this moment that you're about to share that we were like going to be friends forever.
Forever. So Linda and I were training. I'm even blushing as I do it, but I just love this so much because it was so opening for me. But so we're training to be body pump instructors. It's a really intensive training, and they really want you not only to get the physical moves, but to connect emotionally and to get rid of any barriers. So the instructor says, and Linda and I were paired. That's actually how we ended up connecting originally. We were paired as partners, and they said, we want you to tell your partner what it is that is going to stop you from being the best instructor you can be. I'm already laughing thinking about it. And so I look at Linda, and I've been like carrying this burden my whole life. And I looked at her, I said, Linda, I can't be a good instructor because I'm too fat. And your response was,
I just burst out laughing. I like couldn't help it. I just like snorted and just started laughing.
oh my
It was
God.
literally the most absurd thing I'd ever heard. And because I was like looking at you, I'm like, what are you even what?
It was just so funny. It was such a deep, authentic belly laugh. And when you did that, I'm like, oh, I guess that is stupid. All right, let's keep going.
It was stupid. It was just, it was just all you. Like you were the only one putting that on yourself,
Yes. Oh my gosh.
That was all you.
That is so amazing when you say that, because you're right. I was the only one who was thinking that, and that was limiting me. And
Right.
that's what's so amazing on the things you're talking about is because, and again, to me, sometimes I think there's an age thing with it, but maybe not. I think that as humans, we put so many limitations on ourselves.
Yeah.
And honestly, I was saying I do a lot of intercultural work and diversity, equity, inclusion, and a lot of it's about self-awareness. It is about how do you access everything that you have? Like life is hard anyway. Why are we not like just accessing everything we have to bring our full selves to life?
Well, it's so hard. Well, because we have so much on us from society of what we should be at what age and what success looks like, and a lot of
Wait,
times.
does it look like that?
Oh my gosh, yep. Well, and hold on, Deanna. This is so funny that this is the picture. I hated this photo shoot so much
because
I thought I looked terrible. I was like, oh my God, I look short and fat.
No, wait, let me get my face back on because now it's my turn to
right?
be like.
It's so funny, right? Like we're our worst critics, and
We are.
It's so funny because like honestly, what other people think of what we're doing, like I don't know. I don't think that has a lot to do with our own happiness and fulfillment.
No, I think if anything else, if we can stop worrying about if we can stop worrying about what other people think, and God knows if we think bad things about ourselves, you're right. We just need to let it go because there's enough bad stuff going on in the world to not have to put it on ourselves as well.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. Like there's so much from society saying this is good and this is bad and this is good and this is bad, but we're all good at different things, what's going to make me happy is not what's going to make someone else happy. And I think if you can really tune in to what your strengths are and what it is that makes you happiest and go with that, I don't think you can go wrong because again, like everything that happens, that's
happened, and there you are. Well, hi, Leslie. Thanks for joining us. Leslie wants to know if you're going to find a gym with less meals in Vermont so you can continue to teach. She says it appears like a passion for you.
Yes, I've actually been in contact with a few gyms in Vermont, and that do teach Les Mills. As I really do. I love Les Mills as a company. I love classes, so I will continue to teach for sure.
So we'll do a road trip up there for sure.
Oh, please come visit me. And I'm going to say this for everybody that's watching to hear, and I absolutely 100% mean it. If anyone has any interest in hiking up a mountain, I would love to help you achieve that goal because there's a lot of different mountains out there, little ones and medium-sized ones and big ones. And, there's mountains for everybody. And that's a good analogy for life.
Okay, this is gonna be secret, so I'm not gonna give all the details while we're still on camera. But oh my God, that's like such a business that we could do of like inviting people to come every summer. That means I'm gonna have to learn how to climb a mountain to do this with you.
Or not,
Oh, that's true. I could be at the bottom of the mountain checking everyone in. Somebody's got to do that.
Yeah, because there's mountains for everybody. Like, and whether they're metaphorical or literal. For me, like hiking is life. Like there's so many quotes I've come up with in my head, like while I'm walking, that I'm like, yep, that's the same as life. Like sometimes you take a step off the path and you have no idea where you're going. And you just kind of keep putting one foot in front of another until the way becomes clear. And you're like, yep, that's life. And yeah. So yeah, if anyone wants to climb a mountain.
There we go.
I'm your girl.
So I have a question for you, and this is so looking at, I call it the intercultural talk tools, because I feel like the broadest sense of the word intercultural is how each person has different things that drive them and that they bring to life, and how do you appreciate that in others. So the tools, the things that I like to keep in my intercultural toolkit and recommend for others is self-awareness, which you are fabulous at that, but being aware of who you are, curiosity about yourself, about others in the world, perspective taking, and then getting out of your comfort zone. What scares you, dares you. What would you add to this for people who are watching either live or afterwards? What would you recommend for people to add to their intercultural toolkit?
I always say, and a lot of people can attest to this, my mother in particular at the moment, I always say, this is good because, and that's your sentence, and then there's a blank. So whenever you're faced with anything, especially if it's challenging you in some way, stop, take a breath, and say, this is good because, and finish that sentence. And you'll find a lot of things to be happy about, hopefully.
I love that. This is good because, so even if it feels terrible, make yourself answer that question.
I love Leslie's question.
Yeah. One last question for Leslie. How many pairs of hiking shoes do you go through?
Okay. So this is not the first time I've been asked this. And this is going to be like an advertisement for Merrell right now. So at the beginning, I started the summer in a pair of Merrell hiking boots. And then my mother actually bought me from a gift another pair of Merrell boots, which I loved so much, and I only was wearing those, and they made it pretty much all 46 peaks, this one pair of shoes.
Wow.
But about 3 weeks in, my feet started getting not wet, but like a little bit damp, and so I was like, that's a bummer. I don't think that should happen with these particular boots. So I wrote to Merrell, and they sent me a new pair. So wow. I did make it through. These boots held up amazing, but they did need to be retired. So I just retired them, but Merrell replaced them. So I'm going to continue wearing the same boots. It's just their new pair. So I really recommend Merrell hiking boots.
There you go. So brand loyalty too.
I do have brand loyalty. Too bad they're not paying me to say that.
Oh, well. You know what? Well, actually, but when you start doing these, are you kidding? When you start doing these group tours up the mountain and inspiring people, they could be your first sponsor. So you heard it here first, Merrell. Yep. Thank you so much. This was just so inspiring. This was good because this was incredible because because it was fun to catch up, and I just love you so much. And also just, I don't know, but I hope everyone watching and everyone who watches this after the fact, you can see I'm sitting up taller now. It feels so freeing just to take all those limitations around yourself. It just feels so freeing.
And so have to be like with anything big, like celebrate little things like Teddy, or
yes. Yeah.
big things like mountains and, and just try to enjoy all of it. Cause yeah, this is good because, you know,
So,
yeah,
thank you. Well,
thank you so much.
thanks for a second. And for everyone else, I will see you next Wednesday at 1 p.m. My guest is Chuck Frank, who Chuck has become an environmental activist. He's a longtime business and community leader, and talking about how you can use your power at any age to really make change in the world. So next Wednesday, right here at 1 p.m. And we'll see you next time. So thanks for being here. Please, again, always feel free to send comments, say hi in the comments later.